Yeah. Oh, wait. I know, always. Yeah. Always. Yeah. Maybe. Sounds like you got that chair. Maybe Wednesday. We gotta do a CD on Wednesday. It's Bill. They had the city shop.
Yeah, tonight.
Thursday, yeah. Yep.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, we are.
Thursday, within the 10 days, so we just have to renew it, renew them within 10 days. Okay. 4 points. Yeah, 136 a month. That's what we're doing.
Thank you very much.
I did too. On anything over 4, you might as well do it as long as you can. Yeah. I think you know what's gonna happen. That's what it is. Okay, Thursday? Okay, I'll pick you up at your house. All right, thank you.
PJ, how's that coming out there?
The people just.
That was in your. This was in that cabinet.
Oh.
In that door.
You what? It was in here. I put that in yours just in case you want it.
Yeah, because this one, it was left here, because that's where it was big.
I'm just wondering if you wanted it left here or if you want to keep it in your files.
We got this one there. Down here in Mendon. And when he wanted to. Tony's gonna be here today, not Ben. Ben was upstairs. Oh, well, had to be up at 6 o'clock.
That's listed. You don't have to wait so long this time. It looks like Steve is online. Morning, Steve.
Morning.
Remember Corbin Ship?
Lots of trees.
He just bonsai trees.
You're awesome, Ricky. Yeah.
That stuff is 200 years old. That he's collected.
Morning, Ben.
Amazing. First time he literally is an expert.
He's done it for a number of years. He sells them every once in a while.
Cheaper out of it.
Yeah. I'm going shopping.
Chopper, you're a little, yeah.
Just for summer.
Yeah, that's.
Must be pretty warm land B. Warm blooded or what? Yeah, well,
Which is.
a little bit to keep you warm there.
Yeah. This dial and diet.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Keeps you.
Well, this is
My daughter.
Oh, really?
She'll do the sushi and everything else. I'll try to find it. I don't have.
It's better than you have it than it flows around over here.
You want a copy of, here's what landfill bought from us, and TJ's gonna drop me a check Thursday, and I'll just take the check to the treasurer's office, or you bring it to you.
I know what it is. unless you want this.
Yeah, you can have a copy, yes.
Well, it's 9:30. All those that so choose, will stand and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order with everyone present. As a reminder, the meeting is being recorded. If you choose not to be recorded, you have the option of leaving. First item on the agenda this morning, Steve VandenBrink, EMS with a proclamation of EMS leave.
Here's the proclamation. I don't know where Steve is. You know about that.
Online.
Oh, okay.
I'm online.
I see him up there.
So, yes, thank you very much for having me this morning. And I have Sean and Chopper there. I'm not sure if anybody from the ambulance service has arrived, but this week is National EMS Week. For the last 50 years, this is the week that is celebrated for emergency medical services. And this year's slogan is "We care for everyone." So, the big thing for Winneshiek County, for your information, we have 6 non-transport agencies that are first responders throughout the county. And then we have 1 transport ambulance service that is run through Winn. And then we have ambulances that come from Harmony, Fresco, Mabel, Spring Grove, Postville, and Gunderson out of West Union. All have small little territories within Winneshiek County that help out and respond to emergencies there. So again, thank you very much for recognizing Winneshiek or EMS in Winneshiek County. And there's going to be a great article coming out in the Decorah Leader about EMS. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Would anyone like to take action on making?
I move to approve the proclamation for EMS week.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to the proclamation. Week, May 18th to the May 24th is EMS week. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries unanimously.
And if you could give that to Sean, that'd be great. And I'll just pick that up from him.
Oh, sure, I would love a job.
And even if, you know, you want to take a picture with Sean and Chopper there, that'd be great too.
I didn't get all dressed up for nothing for you, Steve.
Sean in a tie, oh.
It's on the front. Yeah. Here,
You're gonna be in.
how about right here?
It's reasonable.
I'll stand over here. How's
I don't know,
that?
it's a heat wave over here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right.
Good enough?
Yeah, I think that's fine. 3, 2, 1. Take a couple here. 3, 2, 1. Good.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
I was running too.
Nice try.
I will also take a couple. 3, 2, 1. Because you know Dan keeps looking at the clock. And 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, supervisors. Appreciate it. You bet.
Thank you.
What?
One more. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you.
You bet.
You. Next item on the agenda, Mike Kueny, our county engineer.
Walk through this
Winneshiek County is a finalist for the bill grant. That'll be 14 south of Fort Atkinson for the project. Service Bureau is submitted to the federal government on January 29th, and there's nothing new this week. For the railroad flat car bridge study coordination to occur this week, and working with Sheriff Brink, we discovered the need to have grid to box inspections done on a 5-year increments. Agreement has been signed for $29,000. Work to be done in the first half of August. Nothing new this week. Subdivision data, nothing new this week. Maintenance activities for 2025 are being coordinated. 6,500 tons per blade district is being applied this year, plus some high volume roads are being rocked. Work out of Ridgeway will be done this week, and some over Linville townships. The 2 main operation that I spoke of last week is going well. The scoop position and bridge crew position interviews were hosted 2 weeks ago. Both men are starting today. Interview for sign man will be done on Tuesday. The SS4 grant meeting was held on Monday, March 24th, in the courthouse jury room. The engineer will submit to the board the findings upon receiving the finished safety action plan. I have not received that safety action plan yet. There's nothing new this week. The Jeff Peel situation does have a finalized contract. I think that'll be discussed later in this meeting. Nesty Valley construction has begun. Earth moving occurred almost 2 weeks ago. New 2025 CFYP amendment was approved last week. And I've got my recommendations for the matrix changes for their foreman and for shop foreman and for maintenance superintendent. Should we circle back to that if we discuss now?
Let's just come back to it.
Okay. B32 culvert replacement has begun. B32 is actually done. Just finished up with Vestina on Wednesday of last week. They've moved on to B16. There's a culvert just west of Spillville. And then with the weather, we're going to try to finish that this week and then move on to W20.
Where's W20?
North of E18. So it's Bluffton Road, and then you go west, I don't know, about 1.5 miles, and then it's to Minnesota. So it's actually between A18 and Minnesota state line.
Okay, thank you.
We will be meeting with Demco sometime this week for sealing the hard surface roads. Whole Line Road and W40 contracts are being worked out. FEMA is the same as last week. Bridge 60 was repaired last week. All 5 summer mowers past screening will begin mowing and operating the new mulcher beginning around Memorial Day. The new camera systems have been installed in all of the shops. Last sentence should have been deleted. Blading and reshaping of the road, the blade and the pulverizer combination done out of Ridgeway shop this past week. The results are fantastic, and I commend the operator on his excellent work. I encourage all the board members to go check out W14 north of Pole Line Road. It is water drained very nicely off of that road now. So salt for next winter was ordered to the DOT. We will have 1,350 tons delivered for next year, and then we can add more if needed. And then all of these other bridge and the Frankville road lettings are the same as last week. So that is my report for the week. So
Is that salt order down from last year?
that it's an increase over last year, by 350 tons. Right now, our salt is in what is normally be the sand set, storage. We don't wanna, we had to make room for it when I first got here. So, we don't wanna shimmy it all over the place, so we're just gonna order more salt, and if we have a big winter, we might swap them out later, so.
I think the last year's order was down from the year before, so we had some leftover, yeah.
Yeah, we have plenty of salt. It's just trying to fill those bins up, and that's what we're trying to do. So,
No, we have plenty left, that's a good thing.
yes,
The pole line road out of seal, is it the entire length of the pole line road we're doing? Or should I-
we're not honestly in the pole line road. We are just, putting, crack the ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the entire, the idea is the entire pole line road. They can do it much faster than our Durapatcher. It's gonna be smoother. It's gonna be a lot of different things.
Yeah, the Odyssey is gonna be on B-32.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's more of a, that, because it's got actual rock and it's more of a structural fix. This is just keep it sealed up so it doesn't degrade. Attempt. With that being said, I'll circle back to the recommendations for the foreman and for the shop foreman and maintenance superintendent. You want, we can start with the maintenance superintendent first, if that works. The maintenance superintendent, I'm recommending on my chart for fiscal 26 be in the 4-year chart. Move him as an exception from, it'll be year 1 to the year 4. And this represents an 8% increase year over year for the position. That's similar to the other union numbers. So that is for that position, and that's the justification for that exception. For our, let's go backwards here.
And that employee has been with the county for how long?
19 years is what I have written down here.
But just started in this position.
Just started in this position, he's been using. Yeah. So.
And our maintenance superintendent is outside of the union contract.
Correct. All of these positions, all of these positions that all the matrix positions are outside of the union contract. I have a sheet if you'd like to see where that lands. And then I have a comparable with other counties presented on that. Yes. Yeah, just that's the previous years, so the top sheet is what you would want.
I get 1, 2, 3.
You just make 5.
Can you make 5 copies, please?
6, then they want one.
And then surely the one that has all the counties on it, that's front and back. It'd be nice to have both of them in front of you though, so you're not flipping sheets.
To sum it up, you're not requesting a change in pay grade requesting a move in columns to keep them ahead of the union.
Keep them on par with the union position generally, or for some of the other, positions, it'll be, it will be, more along the line of, what is, where can they, what can they get elsewhere? What do you,
I think she got 2 copies of the same.
Did you really?
Yeah.
One
They
that
turned it
starts with
over.
Starts with Keokuk. On the top of both, top left.
Which one do you need another copy of?
the side that isn't Keokuk.
Just two sides.
I know. Turn it over. This side? You have Keokuk?
We have Keokuk. Keokuk through right is on this.
Is anybody missing the there on Keokuk?
I've got any.
There's a whole bunch of the. Keokuk.
the Keokuk is missing the Winneshiek County comparables, but it has all of the other 6 county information on it. So in the green pen, you'll see that where I've highlighted the different pay for the comparable 6 counties. I've put the hourly wage. That's with the 2026 3% cost of living increase. So let's, for example, if you look at Fayette County, it says 3688. This was printed off for this year's from this year's survey. That 3798 that I wrote in green is the 3% increase to that salary. So that way everything is comparable for everyone. So what I'm requesting for the maintenance superintendent position is the highest within the 6 county region. The 6 county region is generally speaking one of the lowest paid regions in the state. So I'm trying to make this a desirable place to work. Also keep people from going to the private sector. I think very highly of all of the people that I am wanting to whose salary I'm trying to increase today.
There's three exceptions here.
Four,
Four, okay.
four total, and that's all.
Total increase above the four of them, 75,000.
That's the cost to the Department 20. If you were to take all of my recommendations,
These four.
these four, correct.
How do we compare with the rest of our operators when you do a similar type analysis?
For the similar type, and that's all, kind of on this sheet. So, the operators generally speaking went from, and I'm going off of memory since I didn't write it on the sheet, went from, call it lower than average to, some of the better or best paid. And that's gonna be similar for all of these. This is kind of in line with all of that.
Because the union contract this year included a one-time bump in addition to
Correct.
percentage increases
And I'm-
agreed to for a couple of years.
And that's one of the main reasons we want to get the accessions in this year so that it's right, all of the hierarchy is right sized in pay.
He's trying to give a similar one-time bump to the non-matrix or union employees that the union employees got, so that they all have the same, basically, steps up in the hierarchy.
I would move to approve all four proposed increases.
Do we want to go through all of them or
I'm comfortable with what you.
okay,
I'm just speaking for me.
yeah,
We've lost how many people to the private sector in the last year?
I had that number 2 weeks ago.
7, 6,
No, it's like 5. I think.
5.
So, and it's I think the issue is going to be more pronounced as it's going to be harder to find construction workers. So that's with crackdown on immigration and things like that, we're going to have issues where they'll be paying more for workers to get them to be
And
on
basically,
site.
because of the increases in the cost of the construction workers, that's why you offered the union contract an increase.
That was the major
Well,
reason.
now, then you're at the point where why would any of your regular crew want to take a leadership position if there isn't really a bump in salary significant enough to make it worth it? So that's why you need to do this.
Yeah, I mean, especially for like our shop foreman. I mean, that's
They're basically, if you don't make a bump, they're sitting just barely above their
There's-
assistant foreman and workers that they're supposed to be supervising.
for our foreman, that's the case, and for our shop foreman, it's the case. The maintenance superintendent is not, that is not the case.
It doesn't appear to be getting any better. I talked with one contractor this morning and he was real slow last fall for the first time in 25 years. But this spring has already ramped up and he's got almost a full load already for the year.
For our foreman, I just did a comparable, and this is out of La Crosse, Wisconsin. It's Knutson, and they're looking at a projected minimum base salary per year of 96,000. That would be comparable to our foreman. Projected maximum base salary of 150,000. And this is guys running the crew. I can tell you that both our foremen are very, very capable. Our newest one in the south, he's been instrumental in at Nesty Valley and in the grading project. The one in the north,
And just to be clear, even these increases aren't gonna get anywhere near those numbers, but at least make
Yeah.
it more desirable for them to stay.
This, they get to stay at home, so this is not a great comparable, but the 75,000 that it's gonna cost for 4 people would be eaten up by one salary here.
Yeah.
So that's, in terms of numbers and how significant it is to, reality, I can't. $75,000 is a lot of money, I'm not gonna lie, but I can't, if I'm comparing just one position as a replacement, I make that up. And
I appreciate the work you put into it, and I think it's great. I think it's justified in that. And I also, the people that are making barely above what people are supervising is not right.
is that
It's not worth the lift, probably the responsibility. So I guess I would second.
I will, just for transparency, I mean, the North Foreman, I bumped him up a little bit higher. And the reason for that is has been lower than average for his tenure for the last several years, and he's planning on retiring in February. So I bumped him from the 12 to the 15. You just want to make it clear that it is a little bit of something I don't like to normally do, but I know that he's retiring in February. And
So a replacement for him would fit in where?
the replacement for him would fit in on the 12 column instead of the 15 column.
So the replacement would come in at 3168 then.
Actually, the
wait.
replacement you'll have to address
The
with,
replacement will come in,
If we had the same,
the replacement will come in under the 64,291 number under 2. So the South Foreman, because he's already been here, if I were to keep the logic similar, the South Foreman would start out at 64,291, and then from year 0 to year 1, because he's been here now for 3 months, he should be on the year 4 for this 8% one-time bump, 3% cost of living increase. And that's where he sits right there based off of our, the $2 raise is roughly an 8% increase. And then our 3% cost of living increase that the county is getting.
and just to be clear, if at some point he does retire and you're hiring a new person, policy would say they start back at the beginning, so you'll have to request
Another
exception at that time when that comes along. I mean, right now we aren't
Correct.
projecting into the future. We're talking about the current employees.
is it any other discussion? All right, motion in second.
I guess I have one comment. I guess if we're gonna keep doing this, make the flag beyond.
We're coming down to it.
I mean, we just collide.
We need a HR manager.
You do. I would
I
second that.
mean,
We,
because we're gonna, this is gonna be a snowball.
This is-
Coming down.
this is
Yeah.
continual.
Yeah. Totally agree. Realize there needs to be a.
Yeah, there needs, yeah.
But I don't know to what extreme here, without causing a lot of other. But any other further discussion? A motion is second to accept the bids for the 4 positions. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Aye. You're opposed? Yes.
Thank you. Any other road issues that the board has seen that I should be aware of?
That speed complaint, did you get that one last week? On 155th?
I did get that one. I don't know what to do about it yet, but yes, it is in my queue.
You got the one on, it's not the narrowing of the road.
Yeah.
It's a little.
Yeah, that one, it is a little bit narrower than I like, but it will squash down and be about perfect, I think. It is, it is very nicely shaped. I encourage you to go look at, all of you to go look at that, because that is, there's plenty of storage. It is ideal for county roads to be looking a lot like that. So
that, will we really need a new mulcher, a second mulcher? If we're gonna, how many?
well, you shape the road, you're not shaping the blading operations won't be using. I'm gonna try to not do that, because blading operations, generally speaking, once that's already shaped, should last for a while. So we'll use it a lot on the front end, but I think as a maintenance, once we get most of the road shaped, it'll be a little bit narrower or a little bit less use.
Yeah, it's
Over.
not a yearly
Yeah.
operation.
But this is kind of it's a new thing, so it's gonna get a lot of use on the front end.
The stabilization of the roads you proposed, when does that happen?
We're looking at July. So,
Dust control starts June 1st.
yes, thereabouts. It's
Started already.
some of them, yeah, I was gonna say, some of them have already been applied, but I don't know the details on, my assistants usually handle a lot of that stuff, so I'm a little bit, foggy
If
on
they're on the list to get new gravel that they're putting out now, they aren't gonna put dust control down until after that, so.
Right, and then we also have some of the districts that are getting gravel a little bit later, so it's a
there is a
situation
set date.
dependent.
Not a time frame fit for everyone.
That's,
And the website says June 1 to start, so I can.
well, they've been asking for it sooner, we've been, and the vendors have been asking for it sooner, we've tried to accommodate, so. Especially for the graduation party, so.
Anyone have anything else for Mike? Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Next up, we have a couple miscellaneous items. First one is to set a public hearing for the rezoning ordinance amendments.
Actually, two, one is a request by Joshua Adams, and that one is tentatively set for the 2nd of June at 10. And another is a request by Hewitt and McCarger, and that one is tentatively set for 2nd of June at 10:15. Right now, we're just setting those public hearings. Tony will get you information about their specific requests ahead of those public hearing times and so on.
I'd like to take action.
I move to approve the public hearing set for the two separate zoning requests for June 6th, did you say?
Second, 1 at 10, 1 at 10:15.
10:15.
Oh,
I
mixed
got
up.
my numbers backwards. Too.
Steve seconded it.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion to set the two public hearings for the rezoning ordinance amendments for June 2nd at 10 o'clock and 10:15. All those in favor of this resolution?
Aye.
Shirley?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
I also passes unanimously. Next up, discussion possible action on the exception to policy for County Sanitarian Salary. Dates back to the letter that was sent out. Does anyone have any input on this?
One of the issues that comes up with the
Matrix.
matrix. And Doug has been the county sanitarian for 27 years, I believe. And continues to lose, with the new hires, continues to lose ground.
And as I mentioned, he wouldn't be the only one that fits in this category. And I mean, one thing that I thought of that you could consider is that rather than addressing these all on a case-by-case basis, you could make some sort of action that all employees that were transitioned at the time of the implementation of the matrix that haven't already gotten an exception to policy, because you wouldn't want to give another one to ones you just did, but you could say all of those that were transitioned at the time the matrix was implemented, you could give 1 or 2 or whatever number of shifts on the matrix columns, which is what Condrey had originally recommended. They recommended a 2 or 3 shifts and you only did 1. And so that's where everyone kind of feel like they got behind. So at the same time, that's gonna cost money.
That
So-
would not, would that apply to the other employees of the other elected officials?
It would be just the matrix
Only
employees.
the matrix.
I think that would be a better way to approach it if we're going to do it that way than what we just did for the secondary roads.
Because it's gonna come along,
Continually.
yeah.
You want to prepare some numbers for us for the next meeting?
Sure.
I think what we did for secondary roads, because they're kind of faced up against a union negotiated contract, it makes it more difficult.
Oh, and I'm not gonna say that I don't think they deserve it.
Difficult on that, but
It's just hard to, when you start doing it on a case by case basis, it's gonna be every week, you're gonna have the next case in here. So if you really are looking at doing this, maybe you do it across the board rather than.
Because we can't go back in time and do the right thing first time. We should look at doing that.
I think realistically, to make it fair, you only look at those that were at that time moved to the new matrix, and that you only gave the 1 bump. If you do 2 or 3 bumps, how much is that gonna cost and how many people is that going to affect? We'll have to do some research. Lynn and I'll have to do some research to figure that out.
and I will say, there's a lot of organizations locally that are in the same situation. You work there for a career and the people coming in are making basically starting at what you're making, because there's just no room.
And when we
once you
look at
plateau
those,
out.
when we look at those numbers, I think we need to look at the numbers of years of service. And if new employees came on, they already came on making a decision based on what the current salaries were.
Yeah.
And so I think those need to be
Yes.
eliminated also out of that section. I mean, but we have the longevity that Doug has put in this case for this many years. That's, a whole different scenario.
So I think, yeah, the longevity is important on that.
The construction industry is just a little bit different
It's a lot different.
animal and lots of these other fields are too, because they're a lot more competitive out there and less
And they're
people
also,
out there to do them.
and many are seasonal, and
Yeah,
they certainly don't carry the benefits that we offer, and we can't lose sight of that, but nevertheless, we do need to maintain. When I look at the two positions that are solo specifically, that are 1-person shows, and are the issues when they decide to retire, it's going to be a whole different ballgame. We have no one trained, we have no one in training, we have no way to do that unless we put an assistant with them. Both of them have been here both of them are looking at the sunset, one more than the other.
Okay, if you want to put those numbers together, then.
Yeah.
Next up on the agenda, discussion, reading and possible action on zoning ordinance amendments.
So this is in relation to the public hearing that you've had the last 2 meetings, and here's the proposed ordinance. Tony maybe looks like he might have it too, so I'll just let you use his, because this is like.
once again, the official cop.
See if I can see this.
I would like to suggest, in discussion, to add some wording to the part about replacing or eliminating P and Z commission members. And I'd like to say something closer to the P and Z commission will make an evidence-based recommendation to the Board of Supervisors for removal of a P and Z commission member. And then the Board of Supervisors will discuss and take action on that recommendation.
I don't see a reason for that. I don't see singling out one commission out of the whole thing. We've got, how
I
many
think we should
commissions do
maybe
we
look at
have?
all
How many
commissions.
commissions do we have in the county, Ben?
Yeah, there's quite a few, off the top of my head at least, yeah. Like conservation, I mean, they aren't all technically commissions, but they're all board appointed commissions or committees. So you got the Board of Health and the Conservation Board and the
Veterans,
Veterans and the
historic.
Planning,
Board of Adjustments, P and Z, Historic Preservation, Pioneer Cemetery.
That I would suggest we look at all of them and make sure that the ultimate power just isn't in one branch, that the commission together or the board together makes that recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. So it's a two-level checks and balances, and it keeps politics out of the scenario.
We've never voted a member out.
No, we haven't yet, but we've replaced one that was up with the end of their term. Let me finish. At the end of their term, we eliminated one, our conservation board, and replaced them with one less experienced. On P and Z commission, we eliminated one with a law degree who really did great homework on it and replaced them with the choice of some on the board. I just want to make sure that the optics of what we do as a Board of Supervisors does not become political or playing favorites with people. That if the commission or the board, like the Board of Education or Public Health Board makes a recommendation based on the teamwork that they have established already, or the Conservation Board makes a recommendation based on what they know and what their weaknesses and strengths are as a board, that recommendation then comes to us as a board for a final decision. But that there's a checks and balances here. Otherwise, this is a completely new day. And I'm afraid it will become political.
I do believe, and I suggested last week, that the initiation should come from the board itself, not us. We have the ultimate decision, I guess, but they need to say, are we not functioning correctly, or is there something going on? I think it just looks better transparency for the public. And I think the board itself knows if they're able to function or not. I would like to see the changes that Shirley had talked about here.
We have two issues here. One is we have the renewal of a volunteer commitment. And we have a removal for cause issue. Removal for cause falls within the legislative power of this body, which has the overall responsibility as 5 elected officials, as the CEOs of the county. This is our responsibility. Wait, excuse me. Am I interrupting you, Shirley? No.
Correction in terms.
No, you go back and read the published pleadings in the law cases, and you look at the case laws involved in that 42-page document that the attorneys filed publicly, and you will find case law that brings all of that into being, and it describes what this board is responsible for. When it comes to, we have 20,000 approximate citizens in this county, and we have this number of commissions. If people want to volunteer for it, we don't have, these are not lifetime appointments. So if we decide and it's decided within this board and it becomes a majority decision, that's how all the decisions have been made. So as far as keeping this issue and focusing it on the action, when you say that we made a bad decision for the conservation board, I take exception to that. The chairman of this board has a right, and we have a right to be on that committee, on that board, according to state law. We may have a sitting member of the Board of Supervisors on any one of those three boards: conservation, public health, and veterans. And in this case, when we chose, and we didn't take that action 2 years prior when we had, or 1 year prior, when we had another vacancy that came up, because that was the only commission that we weren't sitting with a board member on other than veterans. And that's an entirely different scenario than those other ones. Veterans, it has to be a veteran on the board. So we are not going against what is being proposed by the Planning and Zoning Commission. They have gone through all of this, and I don't see them putting that wording in there. I don't have a problem with that section.
I'm finished.
Yes,
I would like to say that, one, we're not the CEOs of this county, and ISAC actually has that in one of their PowerPoint presentations, if you're paying attention. We're supposed to work in cooperation with the entire county and the department heads and come to collaboration and consensus on decisions. Two, the replacement of Bill Odie on the Conservation Board. We all had an opportunity to go to conservation meetings. They're open to the public. We were able to absolutely appoint Dan Langert to the Conservation Board, but the Iowa Code says a vested interest in conservation efforts, which that wasn't proven. I'm not saying you can't serve on that board. Of course, you're learning on that board and you're going to be a great board member after you've been there a while and gotten experience. But we replaced a really good person on that board, which is a detriment to this county. Three, as far as this goes, I think it can become very political when you start saying that we can pick and choose who's on each of our commissions on a whim. What is due cause? What is the reason we have to remove somebody from one of these? And why wouldn't it come and originate on that team first? That's good government. That's good leadership to empower your volunteers on those commissions to make that recommendation to come to the board. That makes sense.
there's nothing that says that if someone on that commission cannot come to the board and say, this is the problem that we have. When it comes to the responsibilities of the boards of each of these, it's not only, especially within conservation and the health board, there is a fiscal responsibility that presents the issues to the Board of Supervisors who has that responsibility. And let me remind you that when the governor sued this Winneshiek County, they sued the Board of Supervisors. They didn't sue the Board of Supervisors and the commissions that we have appointed.
What does that have to do with that?
We're the responsible
Well,
parties.
We have to keep in mind that the P and Z board approved this and sent it to us for our approval.
Well, 5 of the other 2 weren't there. I'm saying that I think
So we
in
need to find the
transparency,
Five.
excuse me, I'm speaking. In transparency to the public and for better optics to the public, why wouldn't we say, have the commission come to us with a recommendation? I want you guys today to give me and the public sitting here and those listening a hypothetical. For what cause would you want to get rid of somebody on the PNC or Board of Health or County Conservation? Give me an example of a cause that we would see in a commission member on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Under what circumstance would you get rid of somebody and why?
Then historically, how many people have we removed from commissions?
I can't remember any that were removed mid-term unless they've resigned or moved or something.
Historically, how many have we replaced at the end of their term with
That's,
somebody else if they wanted to run again?
that's a little bit more. I mean, there's the 2 you mentioned, but that's happened on other.
That's happened under this board.
Why was the change initiated? Do we know?
Because the old language was for the.
Am I allowed to speak?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
take a chair, Tony.
So the change was initiated to make the verbiage of the P and Z membership match the verbiage of the Board of Adjustment membership. Board of Adjustment membership, no, I don't see anybody on the table. I gave you a copy of the state code that actually has the Board of Adjustment membership with the words on it. So it mirrors that coming right from the state code. Not exact, it's not identical word, I'm sorry.
But it's very,
We kept it identical from our zoning ordinance perspective. The state code wording is a little bit different, but it uses all the words that Shirley finds objectionable.
I read that code section, Tony, in the past, and I see no objections to what the state code is saying is the response.
I have no objections to it.
Either.
Again, I will say this is a new day and I think we're
Tell the legislature that then.
like to tell the legislature a lot of things. We all would. This is a misguided and putting too much power into one place where we could be more transparent and the optics could be better if that recommendation were to come. I still haven't had one of you tell me hypothetically, what would be a cause here? Just because they don't like them? Just because they didn't like a decision they made or the homework they did? Or does it have to be some recommendation based on felony, based on breaking the law in some way? I mean, give me a hypothetical example. I don't understand why you remove somebody unless it's pretty serious.
Haven't removed anybody,
Yet,
so
Okay.
we got
Let's-
no.
let's don't speculate.
Give anything. I mean, yeah.
we technically, we have removed people at the end of their terms when they wanted to keep
Yes.
running and they were an
Nothing to
effective
do-
person.
That's nothing to do with that.
Nothing to
I'm
do with
just
it.
saying that's our track record as a board so far. I don't think it's a great track record. I'm saying, give me a hypothetical. What would be due cause? I'm not understanding this.
I would guess the most likely due cause is if someone doesn't come to several meetings of,
If they're not, if they're not attending.
they're not attending, they've missed, one of the board members finds out they haven't been to the last 5 planning and zoning meetings. Maybe that's when something you would then take it up to remove them. It's just a hypothetical I can think of as a normal one.
I think you would still have to make sure there was a just cause.
You maybe contact them and say what's going on before you just vote it, but yeah, that would probably what
That's
would
the
be
chairman.
initiated.
Well, that's the chairman's responsibility of that commission.
How does the Veterans Board language read?
I have no idea. I don't know that. And that one's gonna be a little different because that one isn't a separate county ordinance. I mean, that's a state. It's put into place by the state, the Veterans Commission.
And you're saying that this change is mirroring what the state says it should read with Board of Adjustment.
So, to be perfectly clear, it is mirroring what our ordinance has for the Board of Adjustment. The Board of Adjustment section is taken from the state code.
It's down here.
Just
Are there any other objections that anyone has seen in the other changes that have been proposed by P&Z?
So are we changing this to say? This one says members shall be removed for cause by the appointing authority upon written charges and after a public hearing. And ours says the Board of Supervisors may remove members of the zoning commission from office for cause upon written charges and after public hearing. Did you want to change it to any of the wording to be identical?
Number one, I do not have that authority. Number two, we are copying the section of the Board of Adjustment out of our zoning ordinance. So the wording that you read on there is what the Board of Adjustment section says on the zoning ordinance.
Five.
You have this section, which you're currently discussing. You have the timber concentration yard, which you've discussed a couple weeks running, and there are also other changes in here. Are there any of those that you need to worry about, or are those all agreeable?
We're talking about the highlighted ones we were provided.
Whatever the changes were.
Those are the changes. Tony, was there ever any discussion about making that simply a 5-person board rather than a 7?
not in this round of amendments.
Did the origination to change this wording come from you or come from the P and Z commission together?
I believe that this particular item did come from me.
And you just wanted to match your Board of Adjustment.
Cleaning them up, cleaning up the wording, correct?
So we do still have local control and county control on the wording of these documents, these ordinances.
That's what we're doing.
So we could choose to add the wording that the proposal would come, or recommendation would come from the P and Z commission for removal of a member for these causes, and then we would make the final decision. And we could then go back to the Board of Adjustment ordinances and say, the Board of Adjustment could remove a member for due cause on a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. Have it a two-step.
I don't agree with your second one on the Board of Adjustment. That's up to legal to decide, not me.
Could both be adjusted locally for Winneshiek County?
The adjustment would have to statute for board. So we'd have to go back to statute.
New word.
So the statute language in chapter 335.11 of membership of board, that's for the Board's adjustment. There's nothing stopping us legally from adding that the Board Planning and Zoning Commission would have to make a recommendation, and that then come to us for final approval or not.
For just the
Planning and zoning. It doesn't have to match Board of Adjustment.
No, it does not.
Anyone else here like to have a reading?
I would like to make a motion first that we add, the P and Z commission will make an evidence-based recommendation to the board for removal of a P and Z commission member, and then the Board of Supervisors will discuss and take action on that recommendation to the current.
Will you hand me that language so I can get it in a minute?
Is there a second?
I have a hard time with this, and that I'm going with what our commission, planning and zoning board, whatever, going with their judgment and their decision on this. So I don't like to go contrary to what they recommend typically. I do believe, as I suggested last time, that we should change all of them so that they originate with the boards themselves or commissions that come to us first, and secondly, to make that decision.
All right. Motion fails for lack of a second.
First reading.
Second.
We got on discussion on the rest of it.
Yeah.
All right.
Motion is second. For the first reading, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
You can do that now, reading?
Oh,
Is that what your
Let's do it.
motion was, is to hold it right now?
Tony.
That's what your
So-
motion was, I'm assuming, is to hold the first reading.
Yeah, first reading.
can I change mine to an aye?
Do we need
But
to
I
read it
think-
right now?
I would say you should read it right now, whether you want it after that reading, set a second reading next week, or waive the second reading or whatever, but you should do that one right now.
Ordinance amending county zoning ordinance and changing the commission membership application timeline and procedures, miscellaneous clerical items, and the addition of 2 new principal uses to the A2 district. Whereas the Planning and Zoning Commission have held a public hearing on the proposed amendment, whereas a notice of the time and place of a public hearing on said request was published pursuant to law. And whereas the Winneshiek County Board of Supervisors has considered the Winneshiek County Comprehensive Plan in their review of the proposed amendment and find that the request is consistent with the policies and goals set out in the Winneshiek County Comprehensive Plan. And whereas a public hearing as required has been conducted by the Winneshiek County Board of Supervisors. Now therefore be it ordained by the Winneshiek County Board of Supervisors, one, that 501.2 as amended will now read, keeping a record of all fee schedules, permits, appeals, minutes, performance bonds, and such other transactions and correspondence pertaining to the administration of this ordinance. 2, that 501.3 as amended will now read, appeals from any decision of the zoning ordinance may be made to the Board of Adjustment as provided for in this ordinance. Number 3, now that 502.3 is amended, will now read, the Planning and Zoning Commission will consist of 7 members appointed by the Winneshiek County Board of Supervisors. An effort should be made to keep commission membership geographically balanced. The term of the appointment shall be 5 years. Board of Supervisors may remove members of the zoning commission from office for just cause upon written charges and after a public hearing. Any vacancy shall be filled by the Board of Supervisors for the unexpired term. 4, that 502.5 as amended will now read, on the first regular meeting after January 1st of each year, the commission will pick its officers from its membership. All current officers are eligible for re-election. Number 5, the 502.7 amended will now read, the chair will preside at all meetings, appoint committees, and perform such other duties as may be ordered by the commission. Vice chair shall act in the capacity of the chair in his/her absence in the event of the office of the chair becomes vacant. Vice chair shall succeed to this office for the unexpired term, and the commission shall select a successor to the office of vice chair for the unexpired term. A secretary shall be appointed by the chair. The secretary will record minutes of the meeting and perform such other duties as the commission may determine. Number 6, that 502.8 as amended will now read, all regular and special meetings, subcommittee meetings, hearings, records, and accounts shall be open to the public and shall comply with the open meetings law. Meetings shall be called at the request of the chair or 4 members of the commission or the zoning administrator. Notice of the meeting shall be sent by the zoning administrator to the members of the commission at least 6 calendar days prior to such meeting and shall state the purpose and time of the meeting. Number 7, that 502.1 as amended will now read, agenda. The zoning administrator will prepare an agenda and application information packet for each meeting and send it to each commissioner at least 6 calendar days before the meeting. Number 8, that 502.11 as amended will now read, motions may be made by anyone on the commission except the chair. The chair will restate the motion before a vote is taken. Now, 502.17 is deleted. Number 10, that 503.22 as amended will now read, to hear and decide conditional use permits and special exemptions of the terms of the ordinance upon which such board is required to consider under such ordinance. Number 11, 503.10 as amended will now read, a fee as outlined in a fee schedule as approved by the Board of Supervisors and placed on file in the office of the zoning administrator shall be paid to the zoning administrator at the time the notice of appeal is filed. Number 12, the 504.2 as amended will now read, No such amendment shall be made without a report made upon the amendment by the zoning commission following a public hearing and without a public hearing before the board of supervisors. At least 4 and no more than 20 days notice of the time and place of such hearing shall be published in the official newspaper designated by the board of supervisors. Property owners located within 500 feet in non-agricultural areas and within 1/4 mile in rural, non-developed areas of the exterior boundaries of the property for which the change is proposed shall be notified in writing of the hearings. Number 13, that the second paragraph of 504.3 as amended will now read amendments, supplementalments, or changes to the text of the ordinance shall be known as text amendments. They shall be made by an ordinance amending the Winneshiek County zoning ordinance and shall set out the identification of the area affected by reference to a specific section and paragraph. Identify the new text as proposed for change. Said ordinance shall, after adoption and publication, be recorded by the county recorder as other ordinances and the Winneshiek County zoning ordinance changed as provided. Such a mandatory ordinance shall, however, not repeal or reenact said ordinance, but only amend it. The official zoning ordinance as amended shall be the final authority to the current zoning status of land and water areas, buildings, and other structures in the county. Number 14, the 504.4 as amended will now read application for change of zoning district. Any person may submit to the Board of Supervisors an application requesting a change in the zoning district as shown on the official zoning map and zoning update journal. 15, that the first sentence of 504.42 as amended will now read, the commission shall hold a public hearing and prior to making a recommendation, determine the following. Number 16, that 504.43 as amended will now read, the commission shall report its determinations and recommendations to the Board of Supervisors within 30 days from completion of the public hearing. When no report is issued within that time, the application shall be deemed approved by the commission. The Board of Supervisors shall then call a public hearing as provided by the ordinance. 17, at the first sentence of 505.41 as amended will now read, the person applying for a conditional use permit shall fill out and submit to the administrator a conditional use permit application form and all items listed in 505.3 prior to the public notice deadlines for the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Adjustment. 18, that the conditional use table of section 505 as amended will now include winery, brewery, distillery, cidery with an event venue applicable to zoning districts A1, A2, C1, and C2. 19, 506-1(1)E as amended will now read, the names and addresses of all property owners within 500 feet in non-agricultural areas and within 1/4 mile in rural non-developed areas of the exterior boundaries of the property for which the variance is required. 20, at 506.1(2) as amended will now read, notice of public hearing shall have been given not less than 4 and not more than 20 days prior to the hearing. Property owners of record within 1/4 mile in rural non-developed areas and property owners of record within 500 feet in non-agricultural developed areas shall be notified in writing of the public hearing on the request for a variance. 21, that the allowed principal uses and structures of the A2 district as amended will now include forest products concentration yards with processing, not including sawmills. 14, production, winery, brewery, distillery, cidery, including a tasting room. 22, that the allowed principal uses and structures of the M1 limited industrial as amended will no longer include 18 winery or brewery. 23, that 710.2 13B as amended will now read instructions on how to reach the owner or adult caretaker of the campground. Number 24, that the official copies of the zoning ordinances in Winneshiek County, Iowa be modified to reflect this change. Repealer, all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this zoning ordinance or inconsistent with the provisions of this ordinance are hereby repealed to the extent necessary to give the ordinance full force and effect. Servability clause. If any section, part, or provision of this ordinance shall be adjudged invalid or unconstitutional, such adjunction shall not affect the validity of the ordinance as a whole or any section, provision, or part thereof not adjudged invalid or unconstitutional. Effective date, the ordinance shall be in full force and effect after its passage and publication as provided by law.
I'd waive the second reading. I'd waive the second reading.
Second and third.
And third.
Second.
Motion.
And third.
We have a motion to waive the second and third reading. I appreciate everyone voting aye. All those in
So,
favor,
but
say aye.
if we waive that, I mean, if we didn't, people could still question that, or is that how that works?
Because the public hearing has already been
Yeah.
closed, so
Yeah, there's no.
whether you waive the additional readings or not, I mean, it'll continue to be an agenda item if you keep them, but if you make changes after this point, then you go back, you have to start.
Start all over with a new public hearing. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Then you could make a motion to adopt the ordinance if you wish.
I move to adopt the ordinance.
You second that, Steve?
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. This is a roll call. Was there any further discussion? All those in- Mark?
Aye.
Shirley?
No,
Mark?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
I also. You want this one signed, Tony?
Yes, sir, but then it goes to Ben, he has to have it recorded.
Wish your roommate Doug a happy birthday, Tony.
thank you, Tony.
Yep.
Thanks, Jana.
It's after his birthday today.
No, that won't be in the minutes.
All right, next item on the agenda is Andy VandenBrink, our county attorney. Morning,
Good
Andy.
morning. Good morning. I sent you the signed agreement in the appeal case. I don't think anything's really changed from a week ago, well, in terms of the content of the agreement.
I just gave it to Dan, so they can take action if they wish.
Would anyone like
Did Andy, the adjacent landowners were all satisfied with this agreement?
The only person that I saw a response from was Mary. While she was in agreement with the substance of it, she wasn't pleased with how it was written up, I guess would be the way to say it. But she's in agreement with the changing it to a B road, moving the fence back and taking the riprap out.
I didn't get a chance to go out there and look. I was out of town. Has the riprap been removed from the road down to the gate?
To where the gate had been. I don't know if it's been removed to where the gate will be. But
It's still all county right away, correct?
I think it's being removed the entire length of the right of way though, not just to the gate. And my understanding is that that's lined up and will be out within 30 days. Pursuant
What's
to the
our
terms of,
recourse if it is not out in 30 days?
well, we can either bring him back to court for breach of the agreement, or I think we could take it out and assess it, because we do that for removal of items deposited in the right of way anyway, and that's statutory. So you'd have a couple of options.
And that's what actually originally started this. Way back when, is that you instructed the road crew to remove it and so on, and then he filed a lawsuit to wait while we resolved that, and that was like 2 years ago.
I just want to be sure that the county's not stuck with the labor and work to remove that riprap, and that we actually do get paid. If we do get stuck removing it, that we're paid by this entity to cover those labor costs.
There's a statutory provision that permits you to do that, so I think that's available to you.
Okay.
Right. Would anyone like to take action on this amended settlement agreement?
Move to accept the amended agreement.
Second. Have a motion and second.
I have one more question, Andy. With the sale of that property, does the onus then go on to the new property owner to make sure that the riprap is out, or does it stay with the original?
It is enforceable against successors in interest, so the buyer, it could be enforced against them, it could be enforced against the original owner.
So I wonder if the new buyer is aware that this could be enforceable against them.
They are.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the amended settlement agreement. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Ben, if you could send me a signed copy, I'll get that to Peel's attorney and he can get it recorded.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Your recommendation is to leave the Verizon lease alone?
Yeah, I think based on Ben's information, we're into the first 5-year renewal anyway. There's that lease includes provision for automatic increases, and it builds in continuation every 5 years. I just don't see an advantage for the county to come in and renegotiate at this point. That was a pretty decent lease to start with and doesn't look too bad today either.
Okay.
You want to summarize what we did in the open meeting last week as far as what's our policy on open records and what the community can expect?
Well, what we're doing is putting a written policy together, and the community will have access to that written policy, and we can certainly make it available on a website and otherwise once that's been approved.
And what's our timeline on that?
I think 30 days from last Monday.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Andy, on the Verizon lease, could we even have, without going to a bid situation, can we even authorize a 99-year lease?
I think you to modify that lease from what you have to a 99-year lease, you'd have to hold another public hearing. I think you're giving away a much bigger piece of that real estate at that point than you've already done. I can't remember the exact number of 5-year renewals, and then it becomes that are built into the lease, and then it becomes 5 years after that if there's holdovers and there's no request to renew.
I think it was 4 or 5 year renewals or something originally, so. Can't remember, it was either 20 or 25 years total.
I was thinking it's 25 total, but then after that 25 is up, you can still have holdover leases that'll go for 5-year increments. So to the extent they want 99 years, it's a possibility under this lease, but I don't know that any of us will be there to see the end result.
Okay. Do you have anything else other than for the closed session?
I don't believe so.
And there may be some, I know I'm talking with Steve and possibly some things we can talk about the sale of the property without be going into closed session. I guess it depends on how many details you want to discuss and whether we should go into closed session or not.
Well, we can talk about it when we come out of closed session too. Before we go into closed session, though, what do we have for consent agenda?
For the consent agenda, I have the minutes, a liquor license for the Highland General Store, and a fireworks permit for Bob Carlin.
I'd move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Where's the fireworks permit? What's that for? Just an individual on their own land or what?
I don't. He does one every year.
Oh, okay,
He's one of our regulars, yeah. He has
okay.
County Road A14 at the corner of County Road A14, County Road W40, and 180th Avenue. So they have to provide a drawing of the shoot site. So that is included here.
Okay.
I don't know where that is, but he has provided.
He's done this
Yeah.
many years.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
Can you remind me again who moved and seconded? I'm sorry.
I first.
Dan first.
First, second.
Second. Morgan Moore. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any committee reports?
Got Northeast Iowa Community Action in West Union tonight. Northeast Iowa Behavioral Health met last week. We met in the new Chrysalis Children's Center. And if you get a chance, you guys, go through that. There's been an open house at the end of July, and I'll let you know about that date and time. But it's worth a tour through there, and this is a wonderful facility for our several county region, 5 county regions that they serve.
Nice job.
Land Thursday.
Yeah. What's that?
Upper Explorer Lands on Thursday.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
All right.
At 1.
We have nothing else. Motion to go into closed
I'd
session.
move to go into closed session.
Second.
Motion and a second to go into closed.
Thanks, everybody.
All those in favor say aye.
This is under Iowa Code 21.51J. It's to discuss the strategies for the sale of the property. Fatima, you can pause the open meeting and open the other one, please. Back in the regular meeting. Okay, looks good. Thank you, Fatima.
They swing on their back, on their front feet, swing around, get just crazy.
You okay?
They're up to what, 2,000 pounds?
Bigger one, the bulls are.
We're back and open.
We're back in open session now on the recording, so.
Motion to approve the recommendations that we just set out to Ben. For the sale of the building.
Authorize the Winneshiek County Development and Tourism to market the property with a public hearing scheduled upon receiving any reasonably acceptable offer. Board of Supervisors reserves the right to accept or reject any offer.
The property noted is the old HHS building.
Yes.
Second,
Have a motion and second for that said motion. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. I move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed. Carries unanimous.
Things to do.
Snow shovel.
No, we don't want
They're
to.
getting snow.
Are they? I just don't want to, I just don't want to frost. I want to-
Oh, they said it was supposed to be weather. Weather advisory. I don't know if it's right or not. It was, I could get some
Beans and radishes and bok choy and carrots, and all
Bok
kinds of stuff
choy.
coming up.
I got a cucumber, it didn't make her.
I've got a few guys coming along. I mean, it's doing well. I just don't want to see it.
I finally got them all in. Yes.
we had 12 kale plants and 4 dill plants eaten by rabbits.
Dill plants?
Dill.
I've got dill, more dill from seed of last
I
year coming up.
usually have volunteers, but this year we didn't.
I got a bunch of volunteers coming up from all the last years because we plant quite a bit for pickling.
Yeah,
But
we usually have enough volunteers to get enough for pickling and did not. So I bought 2 plants just to fill in. Rabbits got all of them,
you
the
said-
2 and all the kale.
We've
Before we
got-
could get our fencing
Yeah.
up,
You got new fences or no fences?
new fences. We didn't sand them up yet for the day.
Yeah, I got-
To it.
I've got,
Now we have, is it called hardware cloth, those smaller squares?
Yeah.
That's around all the raised beds.
we've got the whole garden fence, but. we
We've
have
got the
to-
big fence for the deer.
Yeah, well, I haven't had the rabbits. We had no rabbit damage last year. And I gotta check,
believe
a cat is getting in there, so I know that I
Oh.
got a problem.
And they'll jump over a little hardware.
The
cloth.
cat can get in, the coot will get in.
I
Oh,
got,
cool.
and I got
My
a
grape
6
jelly
foot-
feeder.
I got a 6-foot fence around it because of the deer. But, oh, and we'll be starting, probably, maybe even later this week, we're closing off that stairway.
So think of all the rodents.
Yeah, the wall is being built.
Okay, Fatima, we're down to just one, so you can stop this one. Thank you.
Thank you.